welcome into the Birds of the Roundtable on yet another Victory Tuesday. We've had 3 of these in a row now. I'm anxious to keep that going, so hopefully we will be coming to you next Tuesday with another Victory Tuesday. We're going to break down all of it. We're going to get into the Eagles' victory over the Washington Commanders. We're going to talk about the return of Doug Peterson to the link with Week 4's matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're going to do it all while watching a Madden simulation of the Eagles, hopefully beating the Jaguars, because our simulations have been right so far every week of the season. So we'll see. I am joined tonight, as always, by Dibes. You can follow him on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Dibes, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great, man. Eagles are 3-0. Jalen Hurts, QBR is like double inside the pocket than it was in 2021. The Eagles defense showed up and then some, especially in that first half against the Commanders. Man, how are you not flying high on this beautiful, beautiful fall Tuesday night? So all gravy, baby.
All right. And I am also joined, as always, by Ryan Reese from Philly Sports Alliance. Ryan, how are you doing this evening?
I am just like Dibes. I'm flying high. I am just feeling so good right now. We're 3-0. And we're on our way. We're on our way.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. We'll start out here. I'm going to go ahead and roll our Madden simulation. But while I do it, Ryan, I'm going to throw it to you first. Let's start off with the Eagles offense, then we'll move to the defense. So give me something that stuck out to you from the Eagles offense in their victory over the Commanders.
What stuck out to me was Devontae Smith is an absolute monster. Let's think of the first game against the Lions was the A.J. Brown game. Game number 2 was the spread game. And game number 3 was the Devontae Smith game. I just can't wait to see what happens next. I mean, if the Dallas Goedert game happened in Arizona, I'm going to go absolutely insane. But offense, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? There are so many weapons that Jalen Hurts can use right now, and he just takes it as it is. It was Devontae Smith's turn, and boy, did he come up huge.
Yeah, one of the things, if I can nerd out about the X's and O's for just a minute, one of the things that I really like that the Eagles have been doing is they've gone a lot more spread looks. I mean, the run game wasn't working against Washington. Maybe that's something that becomes concerning later, but they just sort of abandoned it. They started going spread. They started putting Devontae in the slot with Goddard out wide. And what that does for the offense is huge, especially if Hurts is able to diagnose it, because if you put the linebacker out there on Goddard, then we just know pre-snap, hey, it's man coverage, and we've got our matchups we like against that. And if you don't, if you're playing zone, well, now you've got Devontae Smith trying to be covered by safeties and linebackers, and that's just not going to go well. So I thought the offensive game plan was great, and Devontae Smith had a huge game. It continues to astound me that one of his best traits in the NFL so far has been his contested catch ability, and that's just never something you would have thought from him. So huge Devontae Smith game. Dibes, what do you have for us on the offensive side of the ball?
I mean, it's Devontae. So I'll you guys already touched on Devontae, but for me, it's Jalen Hurts, 23.6 EPA, second best in the NFL. He has only 7 bad throws through 3 games this year. That is third best among starting quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts has been everything, whether that's throwing on the run, the deep ball, his third down conversions, his success rate on third downs. It just goes on and on. Just his poise inside the pocket, his control of the offense at the line of scrimmage, talking more. The Eagles are putting him in more areas to succeed as well in 2022. Jalen Hurts had another terrific game here against the Commanders. And you talk about this offense, which, I mean, it's pretty outrageous considering let me get this stat real quick. They have as many 40-plus yard plays as they did in the 2021 season, and they've only played 3 games. They've got 5. So the ceiling for this Eagles offense is through the roof. It's going to have to be really good again against Jacksonville, which we'll get into in a little bit. But for me, Jalen Hurts is proving me wrong every single day, and I am very happy about it.
Yeah, another great game for Hurts. Let's go to a few comments here. Ryan Finneran on Facebook says that Devontae Smith showed out. Allison on YouTube says the Commanders had good coverage. Jalen was pinpoint accurate, and the receivers made plays. And then asked, is this a PS5? This is an Xbox One, but it's the same game. Same game as if it were a PS5. So, you touched on it. Jalen Hurts looked good. The Commanders' run defense has been pretty shaky through the first couple weeks of the season, and I thought that was an exploitable matchup. And the Eagles tried early in the game, and it just wasn't working. Washington was really just loading up and saying, Hurts has to beat us with his arm. And he did. And, it wasn't as good of a game as the Vikings game, I wouldn't say, for the offense. But at the end of the day, this game was just never in doubt. The slow start for the first two drives, but then the offense came alive. And I know last year we talked a lot about the Eagles offense starting slow, not putting up first half points, being in a hole. Last year they scored. Oh, there's an interception in our Madden sim. Who was that?
Let's go. I missed it.
Alex?
Oh, it skipped it. It didn't show. Okay. Anyways, so we got an interception here on the Jags.
Let's go.
Last season, the Eagles offense started really slow. They averaged like 10.7 points in the first half. This year, they're averaging 24 points per game in the first half, and that's almost a full touchdown better than second place.
That's awesome.
Which leads us into, though, this is the second week in a row the Eagles have scored 24 points in the first half and have failed to score in the second half. So, Dibes, are you concerned about the offense being able to put together a whole game, or do you think it's just a product of how those games flowed?
I would if it was closer. It's, like you said, 72-21 outscoring opponents in the first half. If we were like talking 72-60 and these second halves were somewhat of a match, then that's a completely different conversation. I do agree that, I wish Jonathan Gannon would pin his ears back and kind of continue to kind of attack in the second half. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's a great problem to have. The Eagles have been coming out the gate better than any team in the NFL. When's the last time we talked about that? Doug Peterson is coming here next week. And that was an ongoing issue that the Eagles struggled out the gate. So for me, I have zero issues, zero concerns. Now, when the situation calls for it, we'll see. I will then call it as I see it. But I have zero issues with the Eagles' offense or defense right now. They're 3-0 and trending to be one of the best teams, arguably the best team in the NFC right now. You're not going to hear a peep out of me.
All right, Ryan, what about you? Are you concerned at all about how the Eagles have been playing in the second half offensively?
No, not at all. And Dives just said it perfectly. If the games were a little closer, I'd feel some type of way. But the games are pretty much already out of hand for the last 2 weeks anyway, in the second half. And, listen, if Washington had scored, that first drive or in the second half and started to, start gaining some yards, all right, maybe they turn it back on. But I completely think that they just were like, all right, let's dial it back a little bit. Let's not take too many risks. If we can score, great, but we're not going to push. We're just going to try and milk that clock, and that's what they did. And again, I'm completely fine with it. The simple fact of the matter is, they in the first half have gained over 600 yards, more than their opponents. The second place only has slightly over 300 yards more than their opponents. That's an insane stat to me. The fact that they are almost doubling the second place team in yards more than their opponent in the first half. This team, you said it, we were not a first half team last year. We just weren't. It was a little scary how slow we started some games. That's not the problem this year. And I am completely fine with coasting against mediocre teams when things start getting against better teams. Yeah, we won't have that luxury. So enjoy it while you can. I'm fine.
I think people are going to like point to the Eagles' sluggish rushing attack these last 2 weeks. I think the Commanders were giving up like 7.5 yards per carry coming into Sunday. I'm not concerned at all because you look at the history of this Eagles rushing attack, it gets better and better as the season progresses, as we've seen. Zero concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would like to see the Eagles just dominate a third and fourth quarter too on offense. I'm not concerned about it. The Vikings game, was what it was. You had the long drive and then a field goal gets blocked. You had the screen pass off of Gainwell's hand, and then you parked the bus and ran out the clock.
Yeah.
This game, I just felt like the offense didn't really do a lot in the second half. So not concerned at all with the Vikings game. Maybe just a little with the Commanders game as Trevor Lawrence makes a
what was that?
Like randomly threw off the back foot and just tucked it up. That was.
But it looked like it was like a jump shot. Like he jumped up and then like the ball came out of his wrist.
EA Sports, it's in the game. If it continues, if they come out against the Jags and it's the same thing, then I would start to be concerned. So I kind of throw the Vikings second half out. The Commanders second half, mildly concerning. Not a lot. Just it's a blip on the radar for me that I think is worth monitoring. So, okay. So what else? Anything else stuck out to you guys on the offensive side of the ball before we move on to the defense?
AJ Brown continues to be AJ Brown. I thought he was sensational again. He had one catch that blew me away, and I've been kind of like smirking and laughing at all these like terrible. Oh no!
You're gonna terrible.
Throwing across the field.
Jalen Hurts with that jump throw off his foot for a pick now.
That was horrible. But anyway, back-to-back interceptions here. I thought A.J. Brown made one of the best catches I've seen in a long time. And then it was like upstaged by Devontae shortly after. But A.J. Brown had a catch down the left sideline, I believe, where he just jumped up and made a play on the ball, and it was a thing of beauty. And it looked like Terrell Owens. The frame, the size, like it gave me Terrell Owens vibes of what I've seen. I'm not comparing the two, and I still think Terrell Owens is a way better wide receiver. But it did. That was the first time I saw that. I was like, okay, I see it now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that Devontae just makes an insane grab, gets slammed at the one.
Two of them.
And then a few plays later makes that insane catch in the corner. And yeah, then there was the one on the oh my god. He made so many great plays. So yeah, it's funny that AJ Brown catch is probably the third, fourth best catch of the day, and that was an insane catch by itself. So like I said, it's funny to me because every year we all know and we all do it. We all overhype our team, and we get excited and we try to reel it in, but sometimes it's hard to. And I know this offseason, with getting AJ Brown and having all these weapons and having the offensive line that we have, everybody was very excited coming into the season about this offense and the things that, man, if Jalen Hurts is the guy, man, this offense is going to be, something special. Well, guess what? It's something special. There are too many weapons, and Jalen Hurts is playing exactly where we want him to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, good luck, defenses. That's all I can say. Good luck. Who are you going to cover? Can't cover everybody.
Yeah, it's the force multiplier effect of AJ Brown, because he's not only an elite receiver, but he makes Devonta Smith that much better too.
Yes.
And all of the dialogue, the discourse after week one about Devonta Smith doesn't have a catch and is he forcing the ball to AJ Brown? Well, turns out Devonta Smith was shadowed by Jeffrey Okudah, who, by the way, just shut down Justin Jefferson. So you pick your matchups. Detroit chose to take Devonta Smith out of the game. AJ Brown made them pay. The Commanders chose to devote more attention to AJ Brown. Devonta Smith goes off, sets a personal best for receiving yards in a game. So it's just, you have to pick the way that you want to get beat. And the one weakness I see for the Eagles offense right now, not to go, to they're unbeatable, because they're not, is I still think they need some work with answers against the blitz. I don't think that the Eagles are giving Jalen Hurts, those quick check downs, those hot reads to get the ball out against the blitz. We saw a few times Washington brought the blitz, and either the Eagles just don't have that in their scheme, or Hurts isn't recognizing it and getting into those looks. Maybe the Eagles are just doing that schematically, that, if you bring a rusher, we think Hurts can beat him and go pick up some yards on the ground. I'm not sure exactly. I do know if I was a defense, that would be the primary thing I would want to do. I would want to bring pressure on the Eagles until they show they have that in their arsenal. And in this game, against some pressure, we saw some jump balls thrown downfield, and Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown came down with those. I don't know that what the Eagles have done through 3 weeks deep passing, particularly against pressure with single coverage, I don't know that that's sustainable over the course of a season. So it's been a hot start. I'm really excited by it, but I do think they need to work on cleaning some of those things up is going to help them down the road as they get against some better caliber teams.
Yeah, that's like one of my things I want to talk about with Jacksonville, because they've got some playmakers in their front seven that are going to be really fun to watch on Sunday.
Yeah. All right, well, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball before we get to the Jaguars game. This was the game that you wanted from the defense. Through the first 3 quarters of the game, the defense held Carson Wentz to 12 of 23 passing for 104 yards, and they sacked him 6 times for 40 yards of loss. So he had a net total of 64 passing yards on 29 dropbacks. He ends up taking 9 sacks on the day, two strip sacks, if you want to count that as 11 sacks, whatever. They teed off on Carson Wentz. And, it's exactly what we wanted to see. And they weren't blitzing a lot. These were 4-man rushes. Guys were winning their matchups. They were getting home. We knew that this is what you have to do to Carson Wentz, and the Eagles did it. And I've heard the argument about, the Eagles haven't played anybody. And the Eagles have not played the best defensive opponents. But make no mistake, Washington's offense was on fire coming into this week. Carson Wentz was second in the NFL in passing yards. Going into week 2 against the Vikings, Justin Jefferson was coming off of that game. The defense has been tested the last 2 weeks by good offenses, and they've shut them down. So it's really hard not to be excited by the defense. Ryan chimes in on Facebook and says, Fletcher doing his thing. Go ahead, old man. Ryan, what did you think about the defense's performance in this game?
Listen, I think we've done enough of these shows where we have talked about the Eagles' defense, and specifically the front 4 getting pressure, not only getting pressure, but finishing the job. And, that was always my sticking point. It's the fact that, hey, they're good at putting pressure. They're getting hurries. They're doing that. They're adjusting, throws, but they're not finishing the job. And what a perfect team, what a perfect quarterback to do this against. Carson Wentz, we all know, we've seen it a million times, holds on to the ball a little too long. And he clearly hasn't learned to address that. And we took full advantage of it. And yeah, we finally were getting home. It seemed like everybody and their mama were getting sacks. I mean, Fletch had a couple. Graham had a couple. Sweat. TJ Edwards had one as well. I was just thoroughly impressed with their ability to keep at it, get the pressure, and also kudos to our secondary, because without having coverage, Carson Wentz wouldn't have held on to the ball as long as he did, and that's what led to all those sacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm thoroughly thrilled by the defensive performance the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, what a radical turn from our week 1 game against
Right?
the Lions.
I
When
mean,
I was ready to
think about how
pick up
much,
a pitchfork and lead the charge to get Jonathan Gannon.
right, exactly. We were giving him the Howie treatment. We were putting him over, wanting to throw him off the bridge. But you know what? He clearly listened to our show, and he said, "I can't let these guys down anymore. I got to step up my game." And listen, he has. The last 2 weeks, I thought he's put together good game plans. The players have been executing. From our secondary kind of blanketing, very good wide receivers, to the linebackers playing at amazing levels. I mean, we all thought N'Kobe Dean would be such a big-time player right now, and he can't get on the field because our linebackers are playing so damn good. That's a great problem to have. That's a great problem to have. And then the front four is getting after it. They're getting sacks. They're getting pressure. I'm sure I could nitpick. I don't want to. I just want to enjoy this. I think they're playing defensively and offensively. I think they're playing great for the first 3 games. Outside of the special teams kind of being meh, this team's flying high and doing great.
All right, Dibes, what's your take on the defense after the game against the Commanders?
I mean, you just look at the resources that are allocated, and it starts with the pass rush. I thought the Eagles' pass rush was unbelievable. The defense on Sunday had 31% of the Eagles' 2021 total sacks in just 1 game against the Commanders. Think about that. Like Ryan said, they're getting home. I'll let someone touch on Brandon Graham, who had a huge game. But the guy I thought has been terrific. Well, there's 2 guys. I'll start with one, and we'll start with the pass rush, and that is Josh Sweat. I thought Josh Sweat, whether it was attacking Carson Wentz or it was staying disciplined and stopping the run, think Josh Sweat has had an outstanding 3 games for Philadelphia. He's got 8 quarterback hits. That is second best in the NFL. And if you look at that in a full season, he's going to just kill the record of the last 10 years for any edge rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles by a huge margin. So he has been sensational. The other guy I have been really impressed with these last 2 weeks as well has been TJ Edwards. I think Gannon has found something. He has unlocked something with TJ Edwards, especially that pressure, that blitz up the middle. I haven't seen an offense be able to slow that down, but that has been a great weapon in this defense's arsenal. So TJ Edwards, whether it's stopping the run or coverage, I think he's been solid. I think he's trending to be a huge, maybe Pro Bowl player here in 2022. That's how good he's been. For me, those are the 2 guys defensively. And we're not even talking about coverage. And the coverage of this squad when it comes to Slay and Bradbury and Maddox, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was all over the place. Again, there's so many positives. But for me, it starts with the pass rush. And I love what I'm seeing with Josh Sweat.
Yeah, and I want to give some props to my guy, Jordan Davis, who had a fantastic game on Sunday. And he had a fantastic game in pass rushing, which is something everybody told me he couldn't do. Well, yeah, he had four pressures on 14 pass rushing snaps. He gets the breakup. He batted down the Carson Wentz pass. He had a pass rush win rate of 38.5% on the game. And so not just making an impact in the run game, he's making an impact in the passing game. And this is something people said he can't do. And in week 3 as a rookie, he's drawing double teams on passing downs, and he's leaving Fletcher Cox one-on-one and other guys like that. So he's such a force multiplier for this defense. His snap counts are still low. He's only playing about 30% of the snaps, and I'm fine with that. I hope to see it come up over the course of the season, but I was really impressed with how he played and just honestly how the defense played as a whole.
I just put out that video. It literally just went out, and of Jordan Davis every snap against the Commanders. The dude gets double teamed all the time. If you watch the tape, count how many times the Commanders or the Vikings had two guys blanketing Jordan Davis. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, well, let's get into some player of the games. Ryan, I'm going to throw it to you first. Who is your player of the game for the Eagles?
I just think it has to be Devontae. He, again, did not have a catch the first week. I think everybody was, a little worried. I think that, oh no, like let's hope he, knows how to spread the ball around. Second game, spread the ball around. I think people were pretty happy, and then this game he just went nuts. And the fact that we've already had in 3 games, we already have 2 different individual receivers gaining over 150 yards in a game.
Wow.
I mean, I can't even remember the last time that we had one player that did that.
It's got to be Macklin and Djax, right?
It has to be. I mean, I don't know if I could confidently say that they've probably done that. I mean, they probably did, but when you look back to a tandem like that, I'd take Brown and Smith all day over those guys. So I'm just so excited about this receiving core, and I couldn't be happier for Devontae for having his kind of breakout kind of game. And he's got to be the player of the game for me.
All right, so we've got a Devontae Smith. Dibes, who is your player of the game for the Eagles?
It's Devontae was my number one. I fully agree with everything Ryan said. I mean, how many times last year did we scream on this show saying, like, get Devontae in space, get that guy with the ball, get him going, and we didn't see it. And this year we're seeing it. He's making plays. He's getting out in space. I love everything I'm seeing from Devontae. He's averaging 7.5 receptions per game here the last 2 weeks. 124.5 yards per game these last 2 weeks, man. Just like we've said so far this entire show, AJ Brown, Devontae, they are the truth. Brandon Graham. We got to give a little bit of love to Brandon Graham. The dude was sensational. He had 3 sacks. He beat his man on 31.6% of his pass rushing snaps. He was awesome. He had 5 quarterback hurries, a tackle for loss, a pass knockdown, a forced fumble, and I think he played less than 30 snaps. So that's unbelievable dominance from Brandon Graham. And shout out to Hassan Reddick for finally getting one on the board, because we need to see a lot more from Hassan Reddick going at the quarterback. So a lot of positives, but I'll go Devontae and Brandon Graham. But even though I love Josh Sweat in this game too.
All right. Well, now that Dibes picked 6 players of the game, talk about everybody.
Kill.
I am going to go with Brandon Graham for my player of the game. I thought Graham played great. 2.5 sacks. I think one of the strips was him as well. Had a couple tackles for loss. He was everywhere. It's just it's so good. It's so enjoyable watching him, at his age, coming off of the Achilles injury, still making such an impact on the field for the Eagles. And I mean, at this rate, he's going to beat a 9 sacks in like week 10 and then inevitably not get another sack because he's just destined to never have a 10-sack season.
Don't say that.
But yeah, pulling for Grant. And he's so good in run defense too. But I think he really benefits from the odd fronts that they're going to more often now. Really excited by him. Hope he's still around several years down the road making an impact on games. So I'll give mine to Brandon Graham. All right, so let's throw it over to the preview portion of the show now. Let's talk about the Eagles matchup with the Jags, and they will hopefully match up better in real life than they are in our Madden game here as they're trailing 10-0 in the early third quarter. Dibes, talk to me about the Jaguars. What do you expect to see when they show up at Lincoln Financial Field?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the Jaguars offense. That has been a lot of fun to watch over these last few weeks. You look at the Jaguars offense, just as much elite as the Philadelphia Eagles. They're top 5 in total first downs. They're the second best team in the NFL when it comes to time of possession. The second best team in the NFL when it comes to scoring differential. And they're I think they're top in the league when it comes to takeaways. So offensively, they're extremely efficient. Doug Peterson has been excellent at just creative play calling, getting guys, whether it's the Wildcat or moving guys around. Travis Etienne is going to be a guy to watch out for, because that guy, especially in the passing attack, you get that guy in space, could be a weapon come Sunday, because we already saw what DeAndre Swift did to the Philadelphia Eagles against the Lions. So there's a lot of weapons here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They don't turn over the ball a lot. I think it's really going to come down to who makes the mistake. And these are two teams that do not make mistakes. I think the Eagles have only turned over the ball twice, and one of those went off the fingertips of Kenny Gainwell from Jalen Hurts. So two efficient teams offensively. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I want to talk about the Jacksonville defense a little bit, because that's where I'm really interested. But Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, this team is playing really well. And when I first looked at this schedule, I was excited to see the Eagles play against Doug Peterson. But my goodness, this game got so much more interesting just a few weeks into the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars are looking like a 10-plus win team right now, and they're a team to be reckoned with. I hope Eagles fans and Eagles players aren't taking this team lightly, because they could shock some people.
Yeah, we've got Paul chiming in on YouTube, says the defensive front seven is the best unit they will have faced so far this year.
I want to break that down. Later.
Yeah, and the entire locker room will be up to beat the Eagles for Dougie P. So, yeah, I got Doug Peterson coming back to the link, hopefully to a huge ovation from Eagles fans. The Jaguars, they're good. They're a good football team. They're a well-coached football team.
They're good?
They're good.
Let me ask you this, and this isn't necessarily Eagles related, but based off what we've seen from the Jags this year with 3 games with Doug Peterson, is Urban Meyer the worst coach in NFL history?
He's got to be up there. He's got to be mentioned, because talk about such hype and then just such a crash and burn.
Yeah,
he did it to himself. So
I will go so far as to say that, he said that front seven is the best they've faced so far this year. I'll go ahead and say the Jaguars are the second best team the Eagles will face this season.
Wow.
They play the Packers in the end of November.
Oh!
As Trevor Lawrence throws off his back foot again for an interception in the end zone. That's Marcus Epps. Yeah, he won't do that on Sunday. You play this game, and then you go, I think, all the way to the end of November when you play the Packers, who will probably have figured out their receiving issues by then. But I think this is the second toughest game on the Eagles' schedule this year. The Jaguars are a legitimately good football team. They are well coached. They've got a guy that I think will be considered a top 10 NFL quarterback by the end of this season in Trevor Lawrence. Their offense can move the ball. Their defense looks insane, especially their pass rush. This is going to be a tough test for the Eagles. This is not the Jaguars of the last several years. What we're seeing is that, hey, when you make a top 5 pick like 8 years in a row, you accumulate a lot of talent. And Doug Peterson is a guy that knows how to put that talent together and maximize it. So I'm really interested in this game. I'm excited to watch it.
Me too, man. I couldn't agree more with that. Could not agree more. Especially we've got a lot of comments from Elena's dad, like Devin Lloyd. Love that guy so much during the draft process. He's just balling. He's balling right now. And like we said about the Jacksonville Jaguars front seven, that's something that we've seen Jalen Hurts struggle with in the past. Guys that can make plays, guys that can pressure the quarterback, not hurt you with the pass, hurt you with the run. Defensive. We're not even getting there yet. I'll wait to get into that. But this is a really fun team. A really fun team to watch.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, hit me with your initial thoughts about this Jaguars game.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to be in that mindset about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just anybody who's followed the NFL, they're basically synonymous with being a bad football team, and it's hard not to break the habit of that. This is not the Jacksonville Jaguars of the last couple of years. They finally have a decent coach, which obviously we are all very familiar with. They have young, great offensive weapons. I mean, Christian Kirk, yes, they overpaid for him, but man, he's doing his thing. They have Zay Jones, Marvin Jones. That's a good 3 wide receivers right there. Evan Ingram, not a terrible tight end. They've upgraded their offensive line. They added Brandon Sheriff. So they have good protection for Trevor Lawrence. They have 2 really good running backs, and as you said, Etienne and James Robinson, who has kind of taken over that starting position. So offensively, they can do things. They can move the ball. So it is going to be a test for the Eagles defense, as I think they do a good job of spreading the ball around. Defensively, I won't get in too much to it because I know, Dibes, you're foaming at the mouth to talk about them. But their linebackers I love Josh Allen. Devin Lloyd is somebody that obviously I would have loved to be an Eagle Green. So they have great linebackers. They have a good front 3. They are 3-4 normally. Their defensive backfield is pretty solid all around. So, I think they're young. I think they have a lot of talent. I just am hoping that this isn't one of those kind of trap games that we all kind of get our minds in. Oh, it's the Jaguars. We're fine. Like, we're obviously going to beat them. It's not the same. It's not the same Jaguars. So get that right out of your head. Consider them a legit threat to beat the Eagles because they are.
And going back to the Jaguars offense, and especially their offensive line, kudos to them. They've played really, really well. The Chargers blitzed them over 40% of Trevor Lawrence's dropbacks, and they only generated pressure on 17% of those dropbacks. Trevor Lawrence is getting the ball out fast. He's getting the ball out quick. And when he does that on short passes, he was 19 of 23 for 162 and a touchdown against the Chargers. That has been an Achilles heel for the Eagles defense for years. Efficient quarterbacks that will just get the ball out fast and pick apart, again, a totally different personnel compared to previous years. But this Jacksonville offense is legit.
Yeah, they've done a good job of keeping Trevor Lawrence upright. Offensively, Christian Kirk, we all made fun of the contract in the offseason, and it's still a ridiculous contract, but there's no denying that he made the team better. And Jags don't care about the money. They weren't intending to be, they weren't in cap issues. They don't have a lot of guys coming up to re-sign. So they went out and they signed a bunch of like average starters to elite contracts. What do they care? And those guys are showing out for the team right now. And Trevor Lawrence has looked good. Doug Peterson has him playing at his best. And to flip the switch over to the defense, which I know Dibes is chomping at the bit to talk about, their pass rush is real. Trayvon Walker, a guy that I was critical of them taking number 1 overall, he's looked really good. His athleticism has carried him so far. He's made a big impact. He's unlocked Josh Allen. Josh Allen is on track to have a career year this year. And I think that's got a lot more to do with Trayvon Walker than it does with anything schematically going on. And you got Devin Lloyd playing really well at the linebacker position, and he's uber athletic, so it's going to limit your RPO game and probably some of your play action game. So there's a lot of things there that are going for the Jags in this matchup.
Can I just really chime in real quick? I'm pretty sure the Jacksonville Jaguars punter just had like 100-yard punt.
He was punting from the end zone and got a touchback.
I got a touchback. Yeah. So just go ahead.
Uh-oh. We lost Ryan. Where'd he go? Oh, no.
Oh, are you still there?
I'm here. What's happening?
Okay. I don't know. Ryan was so upset by that 100-yard punt that he left the stream.
That was really weird. I have no idea what just happened.
He's back. Brian, I'm pretty sure that somebody at EA is in with the StreamYard people, and as soon as you mention that punt,
Yeah, I'm smelling conspiracy. I don't think they want me to know that they have unlocked the punt glitch.
Yeah. Paul on YouTube says safety Andre Cisco is a player, also a guy I was high on in the 2021 draft from Syracuse. He's around the ball often. Yeah, Cisco was one of those guys that I liked on like day 2 of the draft, and he's playing safety for the Jags, not the Eagles. But I can't say anymore. I've got to stop the bit about the Eagles not valuing safety, because as high as I was on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, wanted him in the first round in his draft, they finally got him. So I can stop that bit now. We do have a safety. So, Dibes, talk to us a little bit about the Jags defense and what you're seeing, what you're kind of expecting in this one.
This is a defense that's really good at getting at the quarterback. They're also a really good run defense. That starts with Josh Allen. It starts with Trayvon Walker, like you said, Shane. Trayvon Walker has kind of allowed Josh Allen to kind of have a huge bounce back year here in 2022 so far. These are two guys that make plays. You're going to see Trayvon Walker play a lot of snaps. Going to be all over the field. Then you get to Devin Lloyd, especially in coverage, has been really, really impressive. He only allowed 3 catches on 5 targets. And then you talk about this Jacksonville Run Defense, which is first in the NFL. They've only allowed 165 total rushing yards through 3 games. That's 55 rushing yards per game. So, like my guy said, Paul, where you can exploit them is through the air. So many people want to see more of a ground game for Philadelphia compared to these last 2 weeks. You're probably going to see a lot more passing here in week 4. The Jaguars ranked 21st in the league in passing yards allowed per game. So it's a little bit about Jacksonville's defense. I really cannot wait to watch Trey Walker. That's a guy that I was really high on for a long time. I remember the draft process when I was like the highest one here at TPL, and I was just calling him like a top 15 pick because he had a meteoric rise through the draft process. I'm talking like second round to first round to top 10 to number 1 pick. It was pretty outrageous. But I'm really happy to see things go well for him. He's that dude. I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, and the Eagles have been a really pass-heavy team. We talked about, where they would rank and run versus pass in one of our over-under shows, but they're averaging like 40 dropbacks a game for Jalen Hurts and only just a little over 20 rushing attempts per game, not, excluding Jalen Hurts scrambles and runs, because you have to kind of parse those out. But this is a pass-heavy team. I don't think this is the week that you're going to see them start to run a lot. I think that was the game plan against Washington, and it didn't work early. And regardless of if it had worked against Washington, though, that's not the game plan for the Jaguars. I think you're going to see them trying to attack downfield, to push the ball downfield. Lloyd is going to make those intermediate middle throws difficult. He's going to make your RPO game a little more difficult. And so I think this is going to be an outside the numbers game for Hurts and maybe a push the ball downfield sort of game.
That's the biggest when you talk about matchups, I talk about Christian Kirk, you talk about Zay Jones, you talk about Marvin Jones Jr. against the Eagles cornerbacks, and then you flip that and you look at Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown versus the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary. I think that's the biggest advantage the Eagles have in this matchup.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Eagles definitely have better weapons. They've got better corners. As the Eagles get on the board in our sim, Elliott hits his first field goal on his 3rd attempt of the day.
6 minutes left.
His misses were from 61 and 62, so we'll give him maybe a little bit of leniency there. So 10-3, the Eagles trail with 6:11 left in this game. So we'll keep an eye on that. We got another comment coming in from YouTube that the Jags' interior defensive line is really underrated. So yeah, when we look at where the advantages lie in this game, maybe you call quarterback a wash, or do we say we call that a wash? Does that favor the Eagles? The Jags?
I think right now they're on the same. Like Trevor Lawrence, you look at his quarterback rating. You look at how many turnovers? One, if that, maybe none. I could be wrong. You look at the yards. I love the creativity on offense. You're going to see like tight ends take inside handoffs. You're going to see Travis Etienne in the passing game. That guy is awesome in space. Just like the Eagles offense, it's electric. I'll go neutral for that.
Okay. So then we look at running backs. I would definitely give the running back advantage to the Jags.
Definitely. Yep.
So then we'd look at offensive line. The Eagles have a clear advantage on the offensive line, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep. You just got to execute. They just have to execute.
Yeah, and I would say they've got a clear advantage at receivers as well. So, there's the only spot I would say the Jags have an advantage offensively is their running back. Not necessarily their running game, but their running back. When you flip it to the defensive side, I think that's where it starts to get, a little bit closer. I would rather have the Jags linebackers, as good as the Eagles linebackers have played. Maybe you call the defensive line, like your front, kind of a wash. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
I think if you're just looking at their defensive line versus our defensive line, I prefer ours. While the Jacksonville Jaguars front three have been playing great, I just like the way that our front four has been playing, and even as a whole unit, a rotational unit, I just like what they've been doing. So I would give them the slight advantage.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have a little better pass rush. I think the Jags have a little better. Wow, that is a shank of a punt.
Yeah, see,
nobody fielded.
Wait, I'm about to get kicked off, right? Because they just see, very funny, and then they just punt like 20 yards. What is going on there? Yeah, get your punt fixed.
So, yeah, I would say that the Eagles' pass rush is a little better, and I would say the Jags' run defense is better. And then I would give the Eagles a clear advantage in the secondary. So, I mean, when you parse it out that way, let's talk about this one because this is interesting. I know where I would go, but who has the coaching advantage in this game?
Wow, that's a great question. I got to get Doug Peterson. I'm going to give it to Doug Peterson here because how many times did we kill him for having such a stale offense here in Philadelphia? Like the Eagles offense was predictable. It was no fun to watch, especially as an Eagles fan. Things are a lot different there in Jacksonville. How do you not go Doug Peterson, who has the resume to back it up? I'm loving Nick Sirianni. Don't get me wrong, but right now that answer is Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I think if you're basing it off of their entire resume, sure. I'm going to just go off of this year, and I think Sirianni and the entire coaching staff has really stepped up, and they have clearly shown that they have improved over the year. And listen, Doug's still kind of figuring out what's going on in Jacksonville. They did just win. Fantastic, great, awesome. But right now, with the way that the Eagles are playing, I'm going to give the advantage to Sirianni and his staff. Not by a lot, but he's doing his thing. Yeah, I know. Tough sack.
That's a great poll question. I'm going to make that a poll question.
There you go.
Jalen Hurts rolling right out into a block Trey Walker in our sim here. But yeah, I mean, over the last 3 years, the Jags have won an average of 2 games per year, and they've already won 2 games this year. Right. Doug Peterson, with a win, Doug Peterson would pass Urban Meyer to become the 4th winningest coach in Jags history, which is just kind of sad if you think about the Jags. But I would give it right here. I would say slightly to Doug Peterson. And I love what the Eagles staff has been doing. But, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. He seems to be turning things around in Jacksonville. But that's interesting. It's an interesting point. It's something I just thought of off cuff here. But I think I would slightly take Peterson in that coaching matchup as the Eagles are trying to convert a 4th and 18 here. Jalen Hurts with 8 years in the pocket.
Oh!
Oh my God, he had all.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the standing ovation he's about to get on Sunday. That's going to be really big moment.
Yeah, I can't wait to quote tweet that on Twitter and say something about how the Eagles fans are the worst fans in the NFL. All of that, but that'll be fun. We got another comment here from Paul. What the Jags don't have is a lot of depth along the O-line and secondary, so they can be worn down and can't overcome injuries at key positions. Would expect the Jags for linebacker Oluokun to play the spy versus Hurts. Yeah, I think they will definitely be wanting to keep Hurts in the pocket, but I don't think they're going to devote too much to that because Hurts hasn't been tucking and running it a lot. He hasn't been a big runner thus far this year. He was in the first week. He hasn't been just tucking to run a lot. He's tried a lot to escape the pocket and push the ball downfield. And again, I think that's where they've got to attack the Jags. It's going to be deep, intermediate, outside the numbers primarily is what I'm expecting. So
Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is third in yards when it comes to the RPO this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Jalen Hurts like far and away like the leader in that area last year?
I know they ran a lot of RPOs. I'm not sure how it stacked up to like league average, but Trevor Lawrence.
Oh my God!
Off his back foot.
Game.
That's the dagger. That's probably the game here.
Well, hopefully Madden's wrong this time, right?
Yeah, hopefully Madden is wrong. So, speaking of, let's get to our score predictions. Ryan, I'm going to let you lead off. What is your score prediction for Sunday? What are we going to see play out?
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with 27-24 Eagles. I think it's going to be a close game. I think that Jacksonville is probably going to score late, make it even closer, and kind of give us all a little bit of a heart attack. But the Eagles pull it out.
All right, Dives. What about you? What do you have for this one?
I haven't even thought about this yet. This is killing me. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be a 3-4 point game. If this was in Jacksonville, I would probably go with Jacksonville, to be honest. That's a really good choice, score pick by you, Ryan. I think these two offenses are going to put on a show, and it'll probably come down, like I said, to which team makes the mistake. I'll go 33-31 Eagles in a super fought victory. It's gonna be a tough game.
All right, we've all got it being a pretty close game. Then I have 28-24 Eagles. So we'll take the clean sweep of the Eagles and the clean sweep on it being a 3 or 4 point game. So, like you guys said,
what was that score? What was that score, Shane?
10 to my score or the Madden score?
Your score.
28-24 Eagles.
Got it.
Ryan says on Facebook he's got 31-24 Birds. Paul likes the Jags 26-24. Thinks the Eagles are due for a little bit of a letdown after a fast start.
Very possible.
The Jags would be pumped to win for Dougie P and the ice cream that would ensue in the locker room.
Rob had a really good point last night, saying like how there was a lot of Chargers players out with injury, and during the game they lost a lot of players as well. But that was a huge win for the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Maybe they have kind of a letdown this week in Philly. That's the difference maker here. That the home field advantage is the difference maker for this one when I think about it. I think Dougie P is going to get a standing O. After that, it's going to be all business.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Eagles take care of business like they should. I do think the Eagles are a better team. But they have to play really well. This is a game the Eagles can't make mistakes. They can't make stupid penalties. They have to play a clean, efficient football game on both sides. And I think the Jaguars are legit. I think they could easily end up with 10, 11 wins this season. And I wouldn't bat an eye at that.
The Eagles will have to score in the second half of this game, Robert said.
That's a great comment. I like that.
it's going to take a complete game because I think this is going to be a wire-to-wire game. I think, like I said, this is going to be the most difficult team that they face until the end of November when they play Green Bay. So this is a barometer game. It's a gut check game for the Eagles. It's a gut check game for the Jags. Both teams, arrows are pointing up. Both are favored to win their division at this point. So it should be a really good game, and I'm really excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, I think that is going to about wrap it up here. So, Ryan, why don't you hit us with any final thoughts about the game? Anything you want to plug? The floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just again, it was a great game to be down there in DC. Special shout out to Philly Sports Trips. They put on quite the event. So if you're ever looking, hit them up. But yeah, it was great to see offense, defense. It really seems like right now we have a very complete team. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to them continuing to prove that every week. Yeah, so I'm loving it. This game coming up is going to be a great game. Can't wait for Dougie P to be back. And yeah, other than that, make sure you follow Philly Sports Alliance on everywhere.
All right. A couple comments here. Robert says it's fun being an Eagles fan this year.
Amen.
Paul says, good show, fellas. Enjoy the week. Robert says, thanks. Watch you guys all the time. We got Ryan saying good show. Really appreciate you guys showing up in chat. Every week you guys are here. We really appreciate it. It makes these shows a lot more fun for us as well. So, Dibes, you are up. Final thoughts. Plug your stuff. And let's get out of here.
I want you to plug your stuff, man, but I know you can't. But anyway, little teaser there. So on Sunday, I will actually be getting out of the house for the first time in a long, long time. I have a 3-year-old daughter. We're homebodies, but I'll be in Philly. We're doing pregame, halftime, and postgame at South House. There'll be giveaways, cheesesteak giveaways, you name it. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I don't get out very much, and my wife and I will be down there hanging out, drinking some beers, eating some food, watching the game. So go check us out all day at South House in Philadelphia. It's in South Philly. That's going to be a lot of fun. So you don't want to miss that. We did Party on Broad last night. Go check that out where we reviewed tape for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles pass rush and everything else in between. Devontae Smith, of course. I've got highlight reels of Jordan Davis just came out. Everything you want on the Eagles win over the Commanders, that is on the channel as well. And I'll have my top 5 matchups to watch against the Jaguars video dropping tomorrow. It's a short video of what I think or what I expect to go down. So that's about it.
All right. Yeah, make sure you are following the Painted Lines, following Dibes for all of his stuff. He puts out so many highlight videos and stuff. It's crazy. So make sure you are following those. Make sure you're following us all on Twitter. I'm at _TPL. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. Dibes is at Mr. Crockpot. I will have an exciting announcement coming out in the next couple of days. So I'm excited to get that out to you guys when I can, but not yet. But I will have right after this show, in about 10 minutes after I go get a drink, I will be going live with Chalk Talk for the Week 3 review show. And then tomorrow you can keep an eye on Twitter. I'll have all 22 videos churning out throughout the day. So I'm excited to get into some of those. I'm a little behind this week. I haven't got to all 22 yet, but I'm excited to dig into that tomorrow. So make sure you keep an eye on that, on Dibes, on Ryan's stuff, and tune in here on Sunday for pregame, halftime, postgame, and then all the stuff. We'll see you guys back here next Tuesday night for another Birds of the Roundtable, hopefully to celebrate a victory and hopefully to watch, a Madden victory without a 100-yard punt. So from me, from Dibes, from Ryan, from the Painted Lines, from Philly Sports Alliance, thank you guys for joining, and we'll catch you next week.